Let's see how the ChatGPT and UiPath integration can be done. There are 3 easy steps to ChatGPT integrated in UiPath: input, processing and output. In the input, you can go for as simple as an input dialog box or any other input element. In the processing, we'll be learning how to configure the HTTP request for ChatGPT. And in the output, we are going to see how you are going to decode the JSON output from the HTTP request and get the desired output. The first activity that we will use is an input dialog box. Let's drag and drop that and let's configure it. We will create a simple variable and we'll give it a name as ask. So now our input dialog box configuration is complete. Very good job. In the second part, we need HTTP request activity. For that, click on all packages and type uipath.web. This is the package that you need. Hit on install and save it. Type HTTP on your activity panel. Drag and drop this activity. This HTTP request activity requires some of the inputs which we have to configure by getting it from OpenAI ChatGPT page. So let's see that how to get those inputs. Click OK on this window. On your browser, type OpenAI, hit on enter. This is the website that you will find, openai.com. Open this website. On this website, on the top right corner, you find API research blog about. You need to hit on API. Once you hit on API, this is the page which you are going to see. On this page, if you are very new, you need to sign up. Complete the sign up process. If you already have an account like me, I need to hit on login. On this page, as I already have an account, I will say continue with Google. Finally, you can see I have logged in using my personal account. Once you are on this specific web page, you have to click on documentation. Once you are on the documentation page, you have to scroll down and reach the API reference. Below this API reference, you have something called introduction. Click on the introduction. On this page, introduction page, here you find a link to API keys. Click on this API keys. This API keys should not be shared with anyone. So once after this video, I am going to delete my API key. For now, I am going to click on create new secret key. You will see a API key getting generated. You can copy this API key and save it on a notepad because we'll be using it inside our UiPath Studio. Click OK on this. Let's go back once again to the documentation page. Scroll down to API reference. Let's click on completions. On the completions tab, on the right hand side, you see this specific window. Here we'll be using the endpoint URL, okay, which is CURL. There's also Python, Node.js. We'll be going for CURL. Select this, and I need this entire code. I'm going to hit on copy, go to my notepad and save this. Save it on a notepad so that it will be easy for us to modify and start using it. Okay, so this is the only thing that I need from openai.com. I'm done with the page. I'm going to close this out. So far, we have collected the API key from openai.com and the CURL from the openai.com. Let's move on to UiPath Studio and get started. On the HTTP request activity, here you have the import button. Click on this import button and copy paste the C URL that you have collected. So completely copy entire thing and then paste it here. Alright, and click on validate. The validate should say it is successful. You can see on my screen it says successful. Now click on import. You can see the endpoint, the preview URL, and almost all the details has been filled out. There are few things which you have to fill it manually. The very first option is the accept response as we will be dealing with a JSON format, so we are going to select it as JSON. The next point is the authorization. So here you can see it is written bearer your API key. Let's go back to our notepad and copy the proper API key that we have got it from openai.com. And here remember, do not remove this bearer, only in this place, your key, right? This is the place where you have to paste your API key. Okay, do not remove the bearer because that is very important for it to function. Okay, so never remove this bearer. Now the third thing here under attachment authentication, and there is something called access token. Again, highlight your API key and copy paste the API key and click on OK. As you know, we are using an input dialog box to collect the question from the user and getting stored in the ask variable. We have to pass the input value to this HTTP request. For this, we'll be using two different properties. One is the body property and the second one is the body format property. On the body format one, all you have to do, remove the XML and simply type JSON. After that, we have to have an object which can carry the value of ask and pass it inside the HTTP request. Because the body format is a JSON type, we have to create a JSON object for the body. Click on variable panel and here create a variable and give it a name as ChatGPT input. And the type of the variable has to be a JSON object. So click on browse for types and here simply type J object. And this is the variable type you have to select and click on OK. Now for the ChatGPT input variable, to be able to carry this ask value, we have to first initialize it by saying new J object and close it by open and closed parenthesis. This is how you will be initializing the J object, very important. Next thing, we will use a assign activity. In the assign activity, simply type ChatGPT input and we have to pass the ask variable, right? So here there is a trick. Go back to your notepad. In the notepad, if you see the C URL which has got several keys and its value as an example. So here this prompt acts as your input. So our ask variable contains the value what the user is going to enter. So we are going to pass ask value here using this key called prompt. Okay, it is kind of a dictionary and a value. Go back to your UiPath Studio and simply type here saying prompt. Ensure your spelling is correct. Okay, as per the, you have to write in the proper way, prompt within double quotes. And here I have to say ask. Now there is a problem I am going to show you. If I click on set, I would say this is a bug. Now if I am going to type something over here, let's say I am going to say the variable ask, right, and click on OK. What is happening, you get this error, cannot assign from type system.string to type newtons of json.link jtoken. So this is not working. So this is a kind of a bug. All you do, simply remove this, okay, delete that, and instead of opening from the set value property, right, don't write it here, directly write it over here. Directly write it over here. This should take off this error. We also have to pass the model name. there are several models from OpenAI. So we are using the 003 model in this example. So I am going to pass this key value as well. Go back to UiPath Studio and drag and drop one more assign activity. And here let's continue the same way. We will use the ChatGPT input variable, and here within double quote we are going to type model, and we are going to pass the value as text DaVinci 003 within double quotes. Do not open this set value. This is creating, there is a bug. Simply type it like this and click somewhere outside. The error should automatically go off. Now the ChatGPT J object variable contains two different values. One is the ask value. The user, whatever question he is asking, is going to carry that value in the prompt key, and it is also carrying the model name in the model key, text DaVinci 003. Now we have to ensure this ChatGPT input passes the required values that we have set into the HTTP request. For this, we will go to the property and look for the body. Click on these three dots and we will start writing the code. Here I have to use something called JSON convert, which is part of your newtonsoft.json. If this is not coming, ensure you are importing by going to this one. You will say newtonsoft.json and click on OK. Okay. Just by doing this, you will be able to write the syntax which I'm going to show you. So let's go back. HTTP request, and in the property, go to the body and type JSON convert dot serialize. So anytime I am passing a value into the API, so HTTP request, it is going to pass a value into the API. So I am using serialize object. So I have to convert that data into a serialized format and then send it. So here within the bracket, I will simply say ChatGPT. Ensure the spelling is correct. GPT input, right? So I hope this is the exact variable. If not, if you have doubt, always go to the variable panel and copy the name from here and write it properly. Okay, in case if there is any doubt. Okay, I think it was correct. So far we have passed all the inputs and we have configured the entire HTTP request. Now what I need is the output. Now for the output, go to the output property, and here there is something called response content. Here in the response content, let's create a variable. So what is the name shall we give? We can create something like ChatGPT output. Create a variable and simply say ChatGPT output. Hit on enter. So this is the variable which I have created and click on OK. Always remember, once you create a variable, check the data type. So the output will come in a simple string format. So the input will go in the JObject format and the output is coming in the string format. We are almost done. Let's see the output by using a simple message box, and the variable that we have created just now, which is nothing but your ChatGPT output, which is a string variable, we can simply type that ChatGPT output. By typing this, your job is done. Now let's run and see the output. So the execution has started. It is prompting me, ask ChatGPT a question. Let me ask a very simple question. What is the capital of India? I'm going to ask a very simple question. Now you can see it is passing the value into the HTTP request, and now it is processing and it has processed. Now let's see the output. Now look at the output. The output actually contains, there are so many things. If you see ID, if you see there is a text and there is an answer also. The capital of India is new, which is there inside the text key. In the text key, the answer is there. So I don't need all of it. I just need the answer. So for that, we have to work on the third stage of output. We have to decode this JSON and get exactly what we need. Instead of a message box, you can also use a write line activity to capture the required output and copy this output to a notepad. We are in the last stage or the third stage. For this, we are going to use our next activity, Deserialize Json. Many of you will have questioned what is this activity. Let me tell you, the HTTP request, if you look at the output of this, it has produced an output which is written in a serial manner. What we are going to do, we are going to deserialize it and put it in a proper format. I am going to show you the output. You will be able to make a difference. Now let's start configuring this specific Deserialize Json activity. Let's enter this particular variable here. ChatGPT output will become the input for this activity. Here, very important property, type argument. Ensure you are selecting the type argument as JObject. Now to store the output, let's create a variable and I'm going to name it as DJ object. DJ Deserialize Json object. Now this is a very famous name in my couple of previous videos. So I'm going to hit on enter. Now to see the output of Deserialize Json activity, let's drag and drop the right line and pass the output of Deserialize Json, which is DJ object dot toString. Because we are using a right line activity, simply say dot toString. Now let's run it. Now you can see the output of the previous right line activity, and after deserializing, how the output has been converted in a proper JSON format, which is in a readable format. So that's why we use a deserialize. The first one was written in a serial manner and we are deserializing it to see it in a proper manner. We are interested to pull this output. The capital of India is New Delhi, which is there in the key text. Anytime when you see a JSON object and you find a square bracket, if you see a square bracket has started here and a square bracket is ending here. So this entire part is known as an array. Now to deal with the array, there is an activity called Deserialize Json array. So drag and drop this activity. Okay. Now always have a focus on how the array is written. So if you see, the choices is the word which contains this array and there are some values inside this array. All we will do inside this Deserialize Json array activity, we have to pass that choices. So where this choices is choice is part of the DJ object, right, which is the output of our previous activity deserialization. We saw how the entire output has come. Now the DJ object contains something known as choices, so we are going to write it in the same way. Ensure you are not making any spelling mistakes. So choices, there is a s, okay, and then after that I have to simply say dot toString. Getting it? This is very important. Making small mistakes here will not give you desired output. Now coming back to the property of this activity, I am going to create the variable for this. So create a variable. I am going to say dj deserialize JSON array out. Okay, anything, dja object or a dja output, whatever you like. So I'm saying dj deserialize JSON array output. Hit on enter. Okay, so now we got the output. Now let's see what this output contains by writing a simple write line activity. Now in the write line activity, we are going to pass the dj array output and we are going to see the output of this. Always write dot toString in case you get any error. Let's run it and see the difference of the third activity that we have used, deserialize JSON array, and see how the output is coming. Let's look at the output. This is the first right line, this is the second right line, and the third output, if you see, it has only fetched the what is there inside the square bracket for choices. So you can see only this thing has been fetched for me. Out of all this entire data, I am only interested about this specific data. Now if you see, the square bracket starts here, the square bracket ends here, and there is a curly braces which represents only one element inside the array. There is only one element. So how do I get that specific element? It's quite a simple and easy trick. Let me use a write line activity. You can go for a message box. You can do a lot of things. Now here, let's see how this can be written. Now for this, first I will pass the dja output. Okay, because there is only one curly braces which represents the array contains only one element which is there in the 0th index. Okay, 0 index. If it is there in the second one, you will say 1 2 3 like that. So it is there in the 0th index, and then the value, the output is there inside a key called text. So what I will do, I'll use another parenthesis. So this is how the syntax is written to deal with a JSON output. Okay, then I'm saying text, then I'm going to say dot toString. Okay, that simple it is. Now let's run and see the differences in the third output or the final output. Let's look at the final output. So if you go down, if you see, the final output is the capital of India is New Delhi. Getting it? So this is what the syntax we have written finally to get the final output. Now you'll be more interested to see this output in a message box rather than a write line activity, right? You can see the output has appeared in the message box. The capital of India is New Delhi. So that's about the entire workflow. I hope you have learned it in a very seamless manner. Please do design it. Please do comment that you have completed this project and was able to develop. Please do let me know in the comment section.